The one time we diversified, we bought a little like boutique hotel. When I say boutique, that just means small. It's not that fancy down in Branson, Missouri. We lose about 18 grand a month on that thing for the past year and a half. So
Dude, every time I go into a new market, I lose time and I lose money.
Hi, I'm Tim Bratz, and every week I sit down with the top influential entrepreneurs in the country to discuss how to leave a true legacy in all things happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom. This is the Legacy Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. I am your host, Tim Bratz. Today I'm here with my buddy Sam Primm, who is a stud real estate investor out of St. Louis, a fellow Midwest guy, and he's got a lot going on. He flips 300 houses a year, has a coaching platform with over 1,300 students, educating them on how to scale their flipping, their wholesaling, and their holdings businesses. He owns about $50 million of rental real estate in the St. Louis area as well. And always paying it forward, always leading with value, has a huge social media following because of that. And just somebody that I've known for a long time through social media, but we really got connected in a mastermind, I don't know, maybe a few months ago. And I was like, dude, I got to get you on the podcast and just kind of connect a little bit deeper. So Sam, great to have you here, buddy.
I'm excited to be here, man. Let's jam. Let's add some value.
Dude, let's do it. So let's start out here. Let's start out with, I know you got all in on real estate a little over 10 years ago, or started dabbling in real estate, went all in maybe 7, 8 years ago. Talk a little bit about your journey. Talk a little bit about how did you get from 0 to 50 million in portfolio, flipping 300 houses. I know it's not an overnight success story. Took you 12 years in order to get there. So let's talk about that journey so people understand that this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but you can build a real business in a season of your life.
Yeah, I think the journey it's not exciting, but it's just about consistency and showing up every single day. My story is really, really boring, Tim. I grew up in the Midwest, like you said, had a job. My dad worked for Boeing for 40 years. I thought I was going to work for a company for 40 years. I never had aspirations or dreams to get into investing in real estate. Read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, again, cliche, boring. It just opened my eyes to the idea of assets and kind of taking financial ownership of your future and not relying on a job. So I started investing in real estate on the side, bought one rental. It was worth 125. I owed 100 on it, bought another rental and just kind of slowly did it and scaled while having a full-time job. And then about 3 or 4 years in, quit that job and went all in. And that's when I was able to step on the gas and really, really focus. And, rather than spending 10 hours a week on real estate, I was able to spend 70 hours a week on real estate, and just naturally with doing more, having more activity, bringing more people in, was able to really grow and scale things. So there wasn't one like aha moment. It was just consistency and showing up every single day, which I think it's harder than trying to catch that lightning in a bottle, right? Because sometimes you can just catch that lightning in a bottle and really step on the gas and see that growth. But showing up every single day, seeing little results that add up is, I think, the most consistent, but the harder path.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Looking back, were there certain skills that you developed or certain kind of paths down the road that you went this way, could have gone that way, that you're like, that was a differentiator, right? Like, was it, for me, I'll give you an example. Probably the first one was joining a mastermind, right? Understanding that there's people who have been there and done that, and I don't have to be on an island by myself as an entrepreneur, trying to just smash my head against the wall, figuring shit out, getting kicked in the nuts over and over and again. And learning by losing money, learning by losing time. And I showed up in a mastermind room, and there were 15 people in the room who all had the same problems, just at varying levels of me. And we're solving things that I didn't even know were problems or going to be problems in my life. And then, dude, that to me was a huge differentiator. That, along with learning how to raise private money, was a big deal. And then I think probably learning how to build a team was a big deal. When I look back, those are 3 of the biggest ones. Is there anything that really sticks out in your business?
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty similar ones that kind of have different angles on, but so pretty similarly, I remember joining a mastermind. I'm Collective Genius back in the day. And I remember being in the room, I'm the dumbest, poorest, guy in this room. And I wanted to go home. I was like, this is I feel uncomfortable. I don't like this. All these people are way smarter than me. I have no value to add. But I think that was a huge turning point for me, and understanding that if I want to get to that next level, the best way to do it is to go where someone else's, maybe floor is my ceiling, and just getting into
Mhm.
rooms where you are the dumbest and you're going to learn through connections and osmosis. I think the first year that we joined that mastermind, we had done like 130 flips that year. And the next year we did like 220, which is a massive growth just in learning new
It's
ways to
huge.
hire people, new marketing techniques, how to start, an actual sales organization within your organization. Just learned how to treat it like an actual, not large company, but an actual company, not just something that you're doing with your buddies. I think that was a huge thing for me, and I continue to do that. I just talked with a couple different people in the masterminds that I'm in now, and I always thought I did the most burrs. I did, 150, 200 burr deals in 4 or 5 years. And I'm with people that have done 500 of them. So just always leveling up and being around other people. And then a huge moment for me was when I quit my job. And obviously that's a big moment. But the reason why, Tim, was I partnered with someone who had a flipping company, who had already done it. So I learned from them how to grow a culture, how to grow a team, how to give other responsibilities away, how to hire an operations manager and a sales manager, things that I was doing, wearing all the hats and kind of pulling my hair out. And well, you pulled your hair out. Mine's still there, but your hair's gone, but mine's still there. So maybe I learned faster than you. But anyways, so I learned to, not try to pull my hair out and give up some profit. Like I don't make 70% of every deal that my flipping company buys, right? I make 25% of it now, but that's because I have all these other people doing things and allowing me to focus on my genius zone, or just allowing me to scale and not have to do everything. So I think maybe lowering the ego through partnering with that person, Brian, as well as lowering my ego through joining masterminds has really, really helped me. I love the saying, a bad day for your ego is a good day for your soul. So I think that's kind of been kind of driven through me throughout the business over the past, handful of years.
100%, dude. Are you still partnered with him?
No, no, but I have a partner, Lucas, who's, you maybe have met him. He's been my business partner. We've been friends since middle school. We went to high school together.
Yep.
We got in bar fights together in college, all that kind of fun stuff. And then we partnered with this gentleman named Brian for about 3 years, and then kind of bought him out of his third of all the things we built. And then it's just been us for the past 5, 6 years.
That's cool, man. When you know what I see as a recurring theme, um, like I just kind of built it up and yeah, got kicked in the teeth over and over and over again. But I love the way that you did it, right? And seeing somebody else experiencing being uh, what do you call it? Kind of an entrepreneur before you become the entrepreneur, going through this, oh shit, what's it called? Where you go, Cameron, what's it called when you go and work for somebody else and you learn their trade?
Apprentice?
An apprentice, right? You're being an apprentice to it. And and so as you're being apprenticed, but in an apprenticeship, you expect that person to leave and go and start their own practice and go and do their own activities. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs, who are scaling their business, that they're kind of afraid to hire people and give them all this autonomy and give them all the secret sauce on how they do the business because they're worried about people leaving them. How have you kind of combated that in your business?
Yeah, a few things. I think the biggest thing is we allow for a ton of autonomy. A, we pay our people really, really well. B, a lot of the people that we have working with us are our friends and family. I know a lot of people say,
Mm,
friends and family, keep it aside. We lean into that. I have 55, team members, W-2 employees, and probably 20 of them I've known either in high school, middle school. Some of them I met in elementary school. So doing it with your friends, setting the right expectation, knowing that you have the loyalty, you'll train the skill, and just having that, 10, 20, 30-year friendship really, really, they're not going to go off on their own more than likely, considering, they have your back and you got, that friendship of it. And then also we allow people to buy rentals and to flip and to wholesale, and we allow them to do their own thing. Most of our team will do, a flip or two a year, or maybe has, 10, 15 rentals. We even have a meeting once a month, the wealth building meeting where whoever wants to, we sit down with them and we go over, how we're building our wealth. We give them tips on what they're doing. They have scorecards and how they want to grow their net worth and what they want to do. So we really, really encourage people to build their own wealth. Why would you leave? You got a good income, you're working with your friends, and you're able to kind of build your wealth anyway. So I think those are kind of the biggest reasons. And we usually don't have many people voluntarily leave. It's usually us, having to make that call. So it's I think it's a combination.
Dude, I love that.
Of that.
We are very similar in that capacity. I have a bunch of my buddies that work with me, high school friends, college friends, maybe not people that I was like best friends with, but people that were like a degree away, and the younger brother of my best friend, or like somebody I played basketball with, and we were on the same team, but we didn't like hang out on the weekends, but I knew what their work ethic was, right? I knew what their core values were. I knew that, how they were raised, what they valued. I knew that they were smart, that they were sharp, that they could get things done. They were a good team player because I played sports. And like, I agree, man. Like, it doesn't have to be, don't do business with friends and family. If going into, are you trying to do somebody a favor? If you're doing a favor, probably not a good hire, right? But if you understand their work ethic and you know that you can help them make more money, you know that you can help them build more wealth, give them better lifestyle by bringing them into your organization, by all means, man, like they're going to show up. They're going to have a level of commitment to you and your business. They're going to have a level of loyalty that you can't go and interview for that, right? These are people who you have long-term relationships with, and that weighs heavier than anything else. And so, dude, I love that. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that side of things. So talk a little bit about, and we don't have we don't have a lot of turnover in our team either. Like, our core team has been with us for over a decade now. And Cam, you've been with us for 5 years in January, right? It's wild, man, to see, hey, if you have fun and there's ups and downs, and they go through it with you, and there's level of, hey, we'll go and charge through and go to war together, which is awesome. So talk a little bit about how you scaled from flipping houses into a rental portfolio. Why did you do that instead of just staying all in on flipping houses and scaling that business? Why have you, and conversely, why have you continued to flip houses and scale that business while also flipping or building a rental portfolio, right? Like, why haven't you gone all in on one or the other? Why have you kept both of them? I've got some thoughts on it, but I want to hear your perspective.
Well, contrary to what you may think, we're not super smart, kind of dumb. We actually tried to buy enough rentals to quit our jobs. Lucas and I, we have been doing this. It was 2014. We're like, let's replace your 65 grand engineering salary. So let's buy as many rentals as we can to do that. And we got in there, and after 18, 20 months, we bought like 15 or 20 rentals. We thought that was incredible. Our goal was to buy one rental a year for 10 years. So we're smashing our goals, right? And we're making like $1,500 a month, like not even close to replacing Lucas's income. And it wouldn't even have been responsible to use that cash flow to replace his income anyway, because that can go away with a roof or a HVAC system pretty quickly. So we actually kind of beat our head against the wall for maybe 2 years trying to replace his income with rentals, because we wanted to build wealth. Again, our goal is one rental a year for 10 years. So just kind of build some passive wealth for, giving us the option to retire a little bit early. Then we got into flipping and the wholesaling, like, all right, let's build some active income so then we can quit our jobs. And that ended up working out pretty quickly. After we did that, we realized that we could build that active income. And I just remember looking at this lead flow that we had coming in through wholesalers and agents. Mainly at the time, we weren't spending money on marketing, and like, well, this one works as a rental, but it doesn't necessarily work as a flip, or vice versa. So I think it was just us trying to maximize every lead that came in, because they were so valuable right when we were young and fresh. So we just did that, and then we had this machine built, and we partnered with Brian of, we're going to buy 250, 300 houses every year. Why not pick off 10, 20, 30 single family rentals that work. It's not super efficient to scale single family rentals. I get that. You know that better than anybody in the multifamily game. But if we have this machine that produces active income that allows us to kind of skim the rentals off the top and just push it down that system and just basically push a button at where we want it to go, that's why we've continued to scale on the single family rental side. And we've also bought like packs of 45 single family rentals or 30 single family rentals that are kind of a mixture of almost like a multifamily, because you're buying a stack of them in the same neighborhoods they've been in. So I think those are the main reasons. The fact we've already had the systems, processes in place, our local brand, Faster House is a really, really strong brand for the flipping company in St. Louis. And kind of, we feel like we make the community better buying these distressed properties, wholesaling them or fixing them up ourselves, making the community better. And then we're adding rentals as well alongside of that for the long-term game. So I think it just kind of scratches both. And it just gives us flexibility to maximize every single lead and have the specific exit strategy depending on which leads we're getting.
This episode of the Legacy Podcast is brought to you by Legacy Family Mastermind. I know what you're going through. I know you feel stuck in small deals, trying to figure out how do you get to that next level. I know it's hard to raise private money for real estate deals the way that the economy's been over the past few years. There are probably properties in your portfolio right now that are either losing money or at best break even, and you're trying to figure out how to turn them into winners. Or you're thinking to yourself, dude, I just want to be able to go on vacation without my business all being on my shoulders. Not having the time freedom or the financial freedom that you thought real estate was going to give you. I see it over and over and over again. But I've got the solution to every single one of those. Legacy Family Mastermind. This is a group of high-level commercial real estate investors that can help you break through every single one of those bottlenecks and help you get to that next level. I mean, you know the saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Here we are. If you are serious about scaling your rental portfolio, we are here for you. This is the group to do it with. We would love to help you on that journey and design the exact life that you want to design, so that way you can live it to the fullest. The next step is simple. Just schedule a call with my team at the link below, and we'll see if it's a fit, because I want to see you sitting at the table with our Legacy family. Let's go build some wealth together.
Dude, I love it. I think a lot of folks think they're going to make more money off of rentals than they actually do. And they get in and then $100 a month per door isn't really getting me to where I want to be. And we got a turnover. I got a tenant that screwed up a unit. I got a capital improvement that needs to happen. I get dude, it's not until you really start paying down principal and rents start compounding over the course of 5 to 10 years where now, hey, you're making, instead of $1,000 a month rent, it's $1,400 or $1,500. And then that spread really starts making a difference in 10 years. But dude, it doesn't happen right away. It takes a long time, and you need that active income. And so I'm all for people keeping their active income, keeping their traditional business, letting that put food on the table, realizing sometimes the traditional business can be sellable. Sometimes it can have a big enterprise value. Sometimes it's just a cash machine, right? That feeds the lifestyle and bridges the gap until this rental portfolio can, again, scale, pay down principal, scale the rents, and now you pick your head up and you're sitting on tens of millions of dollars of equity and way more cash flow in 10 years. But you need that long-term vision. You need to be in it for a decade in order to really start seeing the compounding results of the cash flow on something like that. Because otherwise, dude, you're going to be too stressed, and you're going to leave that and then jump back into whatever the W-2 world is or traditional business world. And if you go in with the perspective of, I need both, right? I need long-term wealth and I need this short-term cash, dude, then you can really, really get active and build long-term wealth without being as stressed. So, dude, I love what you're doing, man. Talk a little bit about scaling. Well, first of all, do you manage your portfolio with in-house management, or do you guys use third party?
In-house. We have in-house.
Yeah, dude, I think you got to, right? I think if you don't in-house manage, you're leaving. Nobody walks around properties. Nobody takes care of properties the way that the ownership will. You just have to. And I think, when I look back at the biggest balance sheets, the most successful developers that have been mentors of mine and or mentors from afar that have huge portfolios, and not just the most money, but the best lifestyle, right? The least amount of stress, the best lifestyle, the seemingly from the outside perspective looking at, like, sometimes you can see the stress and stuff, but the people that I really, really respect and have great core values and stuff, I went through this because a couple of years ago, I was like, dude, I feel like I'm just getting kicked in the crotch over and over and over again on the real estate side of things. What am I not doing that I should be doing? And I looked at all these folks, and there were a few commonalities. One was they all bought great properties. It was like really, like they either built them or they bought stuff that was built like 20 years ago or newer. And that was it. Or they bought something and did a massive renovation where all the mechanical systems, all the roofs, like everything's in brand new tip top shape. So they had great properties. Two was they brought in great areas like A and B class. They didn't get into the hood. They didn't get into war zones. Even the dodgy areas where you wouldn't want to take your wife or kids. They didn't even get into like the C class, like marginal areas. They just bought in good areas, like good school districts, great shopping, within 15 minutes of a Whole Foods or whatever it is. So great properties, great areas. They put great debt in place, fixed rate, typically a longer amortization schedule, sometimes even interest only, but they allowed the rents to compound. They had a lot of cash flow that came out of it. If they wanted to pay it down sooner, they absolutely could, but it was at their discretion, not the bank's 20-year mortgage discretion, right? And being tighter on cash flow. They gave themselves flexibility on that side. So good properties, good areas, good debt. They in-house managed was the one that I was missing, right? Nobody used third-party management. Of the biggest portfolio owners that I knew that had great lifestyle and great control over their portfolio, they all in-house managed. And I was like, that was the missing key. So we brought over about 2,000 doors in-house of our 3,000 door portfolio currently over the past 24 months in order to just take more control, have real-time data, real-time transparency, and not leave our luck up to somebody else. And dude, it was like we were always driving a car looking in the rearview mirror, right? It's like, how do you drive down the road this way, looking at past financials and bad data and old data and riddled with human error as well? And it's like, you just can't do it, man. You have to have your finger on the pulse of operations. And that's why we're building our software and launching that and everything else. So, and then look, the fifth one is that they held forever, right? They had great properties, great areas, great debt. They in-house managed, and then the intent was just hold great properties forever. And if you hold it, the longer you hold it, man, again, slamming down debt, watching rents compound, and you pick your head up in 10, 15, 20 years, and you're like, dude, this is, I mean, think about it, do the math, right? You have $50 million of real estate. Let's say you own 25% of it with your partners and your team members and your investors and everything else. You own 25%. That portfolio over the next 20 years will double in value, right? Rents will double, valuations will double. It's going to be worth $100 million. And this is something that you've done over the past 5 to 7, 8 years of building this portfolio. We'll call it 10 years. But if you never bought another property and you just manage this, dude, it's worth $100 million bucks. And your share is 25 million, and it's probably kicking off around $2 million a year just to you of passive cash flow by the time, what are you, you're 30, 35, something like that?
38. I'm glad you think I look 35. Thanks.
Hey, I love it. 38 years old, dude, by the time you're 58, when other people are trying to, get Social Security, you've got $2 million bucks a month residually coming in, or a year coming in to your portfolio, all because you worked for a season of your life right now. And that's the compound effect of buying the long-term wealth stuff while you're making great income right now, and just holding it, right? And now you got options to give it to the kids or sell it to the employees through an ESOP, or roll it up with another portfolio and sell it to private equity and cash in. Like, there's infinite options once you get to that place. So, yeah, man, I love what you're doing. And it's just, a lot of what you guys are doing resonates with me because I've seen it firsthand in our own portfolio. When you're working with your students, right, what are you seeing as the biggest obstacles for them in scaling their portfolios and growing their businesses? What are they tripping up on over and over and over again?
Well, the biggest thing is them like just having the right mindset to go out and buy real estate. So many people have the wrong expectation. They think that they're just going to be able to go find a deal off the MLS, or they think that they're going to cash flow $750 a month on a rental property that they didn't use any of their own money to buy, or they just think it's going to be easier than it is. I think is the biggest thing. So many people start and stop. So many people say I'm a real estate investor in their Instagram profile, never bought a property, and 6 months later you see them change it back to, hey, I hope the Chiefs win the Super Bowl again. Like, you know what I mean? They just go
Yep.
through that phase of trying, and they just can't get over that hump. They don't have the right mindset, and they don't have the right systems and processes. So the biggest thing we do is set them up with the right mindset and expectation of what this is, how long it's going to take, what effort is going to be required, how much weekly effort you're going to have to put in. 5 to 10 hours a week, full-time job, great. You just got to give that to me as many weeks as possible. Last week you're on vacation, you gave me 2. Next week you got to give me 5 to 10. So just get that consistently as possible is the number one thing by far. The people that do that are the people that are successful. The people that don't, some of them are luck into something, but most of them are not. That, and then the 2 skills we teach: find the money and find the deals. Because if you can do that, everything else opens up, and you just go at both very, very aggressively. Maybe you have a knack for finding money. You find the money, guess what? It's easier to make non-contingent all cash offers. Let's say you have the knack of finding deals. Great. It's easier to raise money when you have a great deal on paper, papered up, ready to go. You need a 2-week contingency to get the money lined up. So those are the biggest things: the mindset, and then the skills necessary to find money, and the skills necessary to find deals. And obviously we train them up, teach them up on all of those things. But if we can get them the right expectation and they can go after those 2 things, man, the things really snowball really, really quickly.
Well, dude, I mean, those are the 2 skill sets, and it doesn't matter what asset class you're in. If you're in
Nope.
single family, you're in multifamily, you could be in self-storage, you could be in office, you could be in retail, you could be in Airbnbs and hospitality. Like, if you know how to source deals, you know how to source deals in any industry, in any market, in any economy, up or down. And if you can go out and raise capital, dude, it expands even more so, right? Like, you can get into any industry, any business vertical, any asset class, obviously in the real estate side, and you will always have value in a business. You'll always have a job. You'll always have an income. You'll always have a multiple 6-figure income, probably, if you can go out and raise capital and source deals. Like, that's it. Those 2 are what we obsess over. The third one is, once they're a little bit more advanced, is just refining operations, is what we start talking about, is especially making sure, if you're holding a rental portfolio and stuff like that, building the team out, and what does that look like. But those 2 that you're talking about, man, we've obsessed over that. And I agree. I think those are the 2 biggest ones people really need to be all in on. How has any of that changed based on the past couple of years of real estate, and what the forecast looks like over the next couple of years? First of all, let's talk about, what do you see coming down the pipeline, right? You're doing a lot of volume. You're doing a lot of volume in single family. You're doing multifamily. So you get a little bit of both perspectives. And you've been doing it long enough where you can kind of see some of these trends. What are you seeing in the Midwest? That how is the economy going, and the direction, and is there more demand? Is there less demand for rentals, for owner occupants, for investors? Like, what are you seeing over the next 24 months, let's call it?
Yeah, the Midwest is why I love it. It's not the coolest place to be. I always joke. One of our main coaches of the program, he lived in Hawaii, and he moved to St. Louis just to be around us, and ended up hiring him as a coach. I say he moved from the paradise of the Pacific to the paradise of the Midwest, and everybody laughs because it's not funny, but they laugh because I say it. But anyways, yeah, St. Louis is not the paradise, right? But I really enjoy it, man. We track everything to a T. We track everything from, listings, sales price, how many houses went on the market versus, how many sold, and year over year, and month over month. And it's just a strong market. The past 3 years, St. Louis has averaged about 5.75% growth, just consistently month over month, 2% this month, 6%
Is that
this month,
rent growth, or is
5%.
that property value growth?
Property value growth. Yeah, property value growth. So St. Louis it's just a steady Eddie market. And I don't see a ton of that changing in St. Louis. It's still a buyer's market. If it's it's still a seller's market. If it's a good property, you're gonna sell it. So St. Louis is a really, really good market. Cleveland's probably similar. That those Midwest markets just don't see the upticks and the downticks of maybe your Phoenixes or your Miamis or your LAs or some of those markets. So I think depending on where you invest, it's obviously localized to a certain degree. But in the Midwest, I see a lot of the same. If anything, maybe I see a little bit more growth, just just because of that pent up supply. It's just not going anywhere. There's just not enough houses being built. There's just not enough people willing to move off of that 3% mortgage to go to a 6%, 7% mortgage. So I think that until supply really changes in a drastic manner, or interest rates really change in a drastic manner. I don't know if the 50-year mortgage is going to do much, or it doesn't really change the monthly payment a ton. I think things are going to be pretty steady. I know some markets, like the hot markets, down in maybe even like Texas and Florida, they've been pretty soft over the past 12, 18 months. The metrics that I've seen, the housing prices, the values, the listings, those have softened up a little bit. So, I look at the market as kind of like a breathing organism. It kind of, the country breathes. We inhaled, everybody kind of moved to the Midwest and the South, and everybody moved away from the coast because of cost of living and politics. And then it's starting to exhale again. People are starting to kind of move back out there. I'm sure you see similar trends. So it's always cyclical and just something to stay ahead of. And if it's localized and you're in your market, you kind of know the specific trends of those markets. So I don't see anything drastic, moonshot, or anything drastic falling off of a cliff. Who knows? The stock market's a pretty scary thing right now, I think. But in general, I don't see anything crazy happening, because crazy things don't happen that often. '08 was very, very crazy. I was in a college at the time, but looking back at all the numbers, talking to people, that was like quite an event. We don't get those very often. So I don't see anything crazy happening. I know it's not going to get clicks on a TikTok saying that there's not going to be a crash or a boom, but I think a lot of steady eddiness in the next, 12 to 18, 24 months. What about you?
Well, I agree. Like, here's the thing. '08, right? Everybody, because that was the big thing that everybody looks back to as far as recession goes. '08 was a real estate recession. It was caused because of loose lending in real estate on a bunch of subprime stuff, which is unqualified buyers who don't deserve, because they don't have the credit worthiness to go and buy a house. And they were given a bunch of free money with stated income, with zero background check. Like, dude, of course that's gonna melt. And that compounded into a point where real estate was the cause of that recession. So now everybody correlates recession with real estate, right? For everybody, like every conversation. I agree. I think the stock market is in a tight spot. Like, the valuations are double right now on these companies of what they've historically been since the start of the friggin' stock market, right? Like, historically, it's been like a 22x. It's 42x is the average valuation multiple on these companies now. And so you start looking at that, like, real estate isn't, now it's inflated, or the prices are higher, but I wouldn't say it's inflated, because the demand is actually there. Like, we're 4.5 million housing units short of what we need in this country. And there's no supply coming on in 26 and 27 and 28, because builders have been pencils down, right? They haven't been actually banking land and buying up property and getting approvals and getting permitting and all those things in place. And so I think real estate is going to be the safest place to be on the second half of this decade, whereas these other companies, and you see the bubbles in, a lot of these trades businesses, right? That's what everybody's been flocking towards over the past 3-4 years. Well, the same thing that happened, where easy access to capital, too many buyers, drove up prices in multifamily in 2019, 2020, 2021. And then it's been kind of stiff and kind of painful over the past 3 years because of that. I think we're going to see a lot of that in businesses over the course of the next few years. And I think real estate, I think real estate, and specifically this workforce housing space, is going to do really, really well. I think you can't build a house for less than $250,000, right? You can't build an apartment building for less than $150,000 a door minimum. So I think if you can go buy properties in decent areas that you clean them all up, right? A lot of these properties that are the older housing stock, as long as you go in there, buy them at a decent price point, and you redo the mechanicals, you redo the electric, you make sure the roof is in good shape, you update some of the cosmetics of it, dude, you can't build a house for that, right? For what you can buy it for and renovate it for. And even if you could build it, you're in the outskirts somewhere, right? You're in like a rural area that's 30 to 40 minutes away from the downtown urban setting. These older house, like the 60s, 70s, 80s vintage, they're pretty close to the downtown area where people are working, where there's public transportation, where there's walkability aspects to restaurants and bars and shops and living type parks and stuff like that. And so, dude, I think there's going to be a big movement towards that. And I think if you can buy up properties for under 100 houses for under 200,000 a door and apartments for under 100,000 a door, dude, I think you're going to be in really good shape, because I think those values are going to go up. Rents are going to start driving up in those areas as well. And I think it's going to be very strong for real estate over the next few years.
Yeah, I think real estate just it's not it's not as I think it's exciting, but it's not this NFT craze or this crypto craze or trying to catch the
Not a
moonshot
get
on like
rich
an
quick, man. Yeah.
AI stock, but nothing does what real estate does. And I think we're preaching to the choir a little bit, so I don't go down a rabbit hole here, but it goes up in value. It doubles in value every 15-ish years. Somebody else is paying down the mortgage. You get cash flow. You get tax savings, like, and you can use other people's money to buy it. Like nothing else gets all of those puzzle pieces together, and it's not even close. There's other assets that maybe have higher valuation as far as upside goes quicker, like the stock market, but you can't use other people's money to buy stocks. If you want 100 grand Amazon, you got to put 100 grand Amazon down. You can't leverage either 20% or no money. So it's just, it's the wave of the past, the present, and the future. It's just people get this shiny object syndrome, recency bias, whatever it looks like. And it's not as easy as they think. So they back away. But yeah, I agree. I think, the next 5-10 years, you're going to be happy you bought real estate if you bought now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, those Midwest markets too, like all of your properties are in St. Louis, correct?
Yep.
So like, have you ever looked at going into other markets? Have you ever looked at, opening up and quote, diversifying into other markets? And why is that a good idea or a bad idea? And why have you guys stayed in St. Louis?
I think it could be a good idea to diversify a little bit. St. Louis isn't, the most poppin' city, in the country, but it's just steady Eddie growth. It has been, it continued to will be, or it, will continue to be. So I think there's, kind of benefits to having your backyard. It's almost like insider trading. The gentrification areas, what the trends are, where the pockets are good, the bad, and it's hard for a fund to come in and just know all of that. So we're kind of somewhat insulated and protected here in St. Louis. There's like 89 municipalities. They all have different kind of rules and regulations. So St. Louis is a little bit tough. We've had funds come and leave quite often. So I like that aspect of it, but of course it's kind of nice to be diversified. The one time we diversified, we bought a little like boutique hotel. When I say boutique, that just means small. It's not that fancy, down in Branson, Missouri, 20 units. We bought it. It's like kind of like Airbnbs, but kind of like a hotel, but there's not staff on site. And we lose about 18 grand a month on that thing for the past year and a half. So, so there we try to diversify it.
You got to my point though, right? I was hoping we would go down this road because, dude, every time I go into a new market, I lose time and I lose money, right? Yeah. And you have to learn new laws. You have to learn the housing court. You have to find the local vendors. You have to source out a management company, or you have to source out local people. You have to figure, like we bought stuff in Louisiana, which we're in probably one of the best rental markets in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like they got weird laws in Louisiana, right? It's based off of French laws from 250 years ago. And it's like, and you can learn it, right? You can go through that system, but it's like, dude, why? When you already know all the housing court judges in St. Louis, and you already know where all the contractors are in St. Louis, and you already know the different management companies or the different personnel, and you have a network built out of all these bird dogs sourcing deals because of your local presence, and you have all the marketing that you can compound on, and you've had it out there for years and years and years, and all of a sudden you're getting phone calls from something you did 6 years ago, and you're seeing finally the fruits of your labor, like the seeds that you planted that long ago are finally taking root. And dude, every time you jump into a new market or a new business opportunity or a new whatever, you're not letting the seeds that you planted end up going just not taken care of, right? You're not cultivating those seeds. You're not letting them blossom. You're not letting them actually have a harvest and produce fruit in order to then be able to then feed you, right? And so I see people jumping around all the time in different business opportunities into different marketplaces. And I think there's a lot more value in going deep into one or two markets, right? Than going wide into a whole bunch. And I can tell you from experience, dude, I was in 12 states with 5,000 doors. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't like it one bit. And so we've scaled back dramatically where we're now in the Carolinas and we're in the Midwest, right? We're in Ohio and the Carolinas, and that's it. And so we get a little bit of that boost from everybody moving down to the Carolinas. And then we also get the steadiness of the Midwest rents. And so it's just, we get a little bit of a balance, but I don't think you need to be in more than two markets, right? And I think being all in on one market and being the biggest fish in that market and just dominating it, doing it in a smart way, right? Not getting into super luxury type properties, and you're kind of insulated in that workforce housing space, dude. And you guys are doing all the right things. So, accolades to you guys and the business model that you've built out, because it makes a lot of sense, and you have a lot of wisdom, that takes other people 20, 30 years to figure out. You guys figured it out in 10 years by asking the right questions, watching others, and making sure that you didn't make the same mistakes that other people did.
Yeah, I think to kind of put a bow on that, I think people think that like, you can saturate a market. Like St. Louis is a mid-sized city, and I'll joke like me and my wife will be on a plane traveling somewhere, and I'll be like, our 50 million in real estate that we own is like those 3 blocks value of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what we're over, like it just you see the whole city, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, real estate's so massive, it's so much value. It's just a undescribable value industry, and it's like, yeah, our 50 million real estate spread around, but if we bought those 2 blocks, that would be $50 million. Like that's how little of an impact we have in the actual overall St. Louis. So there's we could spend 10 lifetimes buying properties in St. Louis and not really make
Yeah,
a dent.
dude, blue ocean, right? It's wide open, staying in your own backyard. Like all the all the movers and shakers and players and all the resources. Like you got to figure that out in every new city that you want to expand in, and it's not worth it. Like let the knowledge compound, let the resources compound, let the expertise compound in a singular area. I would say for a friggin' decade before you ever even consider going into another market. And if you do, go into a single market that you always vacation to, or the place that like you're intimately familiar with because you have a business partner there, or somebody who like understand and has compounded the knowledge for the past decade also, is the only way that I would start looking at other markets. So at least today, right?
Yep.
Back then it was cool because people would bring me deals, and I'd sponsor deals in Illinois and sponsor deals in Oklahoma and sponsor deals in Louisiana. And I got into deals that I wouldn't have been able to get into in the first place. But when those people either didn't fulfill, or they, built up their portfolio big enough where now they went and focused on other stuff where they didn't have partners anymore, and it fell back in my lap because I had all the financial liability on this thing. Dude, now I got to go and figure this out and send my team over there, and had to put a pause on our acquisitions because we were cleaning up other people's deals. So, no, man, I love what you guys are doing. And again, you guys are doing all the right things, and not letting your ego get ahead of you of what that looks like. So, big accolades to you. I want to pivot for a second and talk about your social media. Your social media, dude, has gone bananas. You have what, 2.4 million followers on social media, over 1,300 students in your mentorship. That has parlayed deal flow, private money, people wanting to come and work for you. Tell me a little bit more about the importance of building a brand, and building a personal brand and a business brand.
Yeah, everybody should be doing it. I think legitimately companies that aren't taking social media and, building that brand online seriously, like developed and, companies have been around a long time, are going to fall to the wayside in the future. I think like Mr. Beast is a perfect example. Obviously has a huge brand, but I did like a study on him for a presentation I was doing, and he started Feastables, his chocolate brand, just through his, it tastes good, whatever, but he threw his brand on chocolate. And that year, Hershey's, which has been around for a long time, has a town named after it, saw like a 17% decline in revenue. And just because of the brand that he built, and Hershey's is fine, obviously, right? But the point is, he made a massive impact on a massive company just because of his brand. And I think, that School of Hard Knocks guy that a lot of people see that interviews the millionaires and billionaires, all the billionaires basically say they go all in on AI and all in on personal branding. We're in a trust recession right now. People don't trust what they see on their phone, Tim, for good reason. And having that brand where I can be in front of somebody's face for hours a month where they feel like they know me, they like me. I see some occasionally someone on the street will be like, "Hey, Sam, what's going on?" They feel like they know me, right? So just having that like, know, and trust is huge. I've been able to focus on this more recently, and I'm getting 30, 35 million views a month across the platform. So it's just having all those eyeballs and being able to have that like, know, and trust. I think is something that I'm still figuring out how to help them and monetize that. I've obviously am through deal sourcing, through raising funds, through my community and coaching, all of these things. But I just think what I've done in social media is more rare than I've done in real estate. Real estate's been really, really cool. But most people that are big on social media, Tim, they're actors or actresses or athletes or musicians, and they have this brand that they built on TV or through concerts, and they just throw it on the social media brand. To be able to grow it from nobody knowing you to a substantial following, I think that's harder and more rare, and I don't take it
Agreed.
lightly. And I'm still kind of figuring out how to continue to provide value and to help
Dude,
monetize
you've been a
that.
huge mentor of mine, right, in that space. I'm like, dude, it's unbelievable. It's amazing. It's amazing what you've done. And I'm having my team like take notes on the stuff that you talked about at the last mastermind. Like, are we doing this? Can we try doing this? Like, what does it look like? Because it's constantly changing, right?
Mhm.
Like you have to stay on top of it. And you had mentioned that you know more about the social media side of things than you even do real estate because you've been such just inundated with it and a master student of studying how all this stuff changes. How do you see, like Gary Vee talks about how influencers we're gonna overcome, like traditional corporate advertising and all that stuff over the past decade. He says over the next decade, AI influencers who are not real people are going to overcome human influencers. Do you see that happening?
I don't. And Gary's usually ahead of things and he's way smarter than me. But I remember being at a speech he had and he said that Snapchat was going to overtake everything. So he's not always right. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm right, but I
No,
don't see that. I think the algorithms are already trying to catch AI created content. They can check that with the metadata and be able to see it. I know AI is super smart. I understand that. But I think people want the human interaction. People still go to bars and want to hang out. They don't, drink at their house every single night to save money still. So I think people want that human interaction, that real feel. So I think an original creator is always going to have their place and just, being able to create authentic, not perfect. I mumble a little bit, I slur a little bit. I think that's why people like my content because I'm authentic, I'm real. I don't speak perfectly. Sometimes I go talk too quickly, but it's real and it's me. And I think people are sick of the perfect news anchor style people and or the AI style people. So I mean, I don't. I It's probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably not going to be replaced, like Gary said. It's probably not going to be only authentic, real creators, like I'm saying. There's probably somewhere in the middle for that. But I do know that throughout human history, people they crave that real interaction and want to talk and
100%.
speak and be around
Dude,
real people.
dude, we talk about it right now. Like they've been so turned away from social media. I think maybe the younger generation could go towards that AI generated content and stuff. But like currently 50% of all content created on the internet is fake content, is what I just read in the study. And it's like, dude, I am disenchanted with social media as a social media presence, right? I don't have anywhere near what you guys have built, but enough where we get a lot of conversations. I was on a phone call yesterday where the dude's like, I've been following you for 10 years and I want to put 200 grand with you, right? Like I have those conversations on a weekly basis because of my social media following. And uh, my point is like I get disenchanted, even though it's my main like a main funnel and the fuel for all the engines of businesses that I run. It's like I don't want to be on this because everything seems so fake. But
Mhm.
maybe I should lean into it more because of I think this authenticity stands out more as opposed to the AI generated stuff. I think we might get a little bit of a blurb or a little bit of a boost, but I think eventually people are going to be so disheartened by it and be like, I want the authentic, I want the genuine, I want the real connections with real people. I think a social media platform that doesn't allow AI generated content would frigging crush. I think it would do
Mhm.
really, really well. Where it's like, no, this is just real stuff all the time. And no fake models, no fake talk, no fake voices, no fake backgrounds, no fake environment, like just real and authentic. I think there's going to be a movement towards this almost analog type of a model of that people want. So, dude, I agree with you 100%. I think it'll always be there. And I think even if you haven't built a social media brand yet, there's no reason that you couldn't differentiate yourself, right? Like less than 1% of people on social media create 99% of the content. So it's very, although you, dude, I think about this, right? Like I might have a video that or a post that only gets 50 likes or 25 likes. Well, dude, go and stand in front of a room of 25 entrepreneurs and share your message and be like, that's pretty damn good, man, right? In order to do that in a matter of 10 minutes, put a post out or do a Facebook Live or do like some sort of a video and get 25, 50, 100, 300 views or comments on that. Dude, go and talk in front of a room of 300 people and you'd be like, wow, there's some serious impact to that. But because it's not millions of views, right? And we're comparing ourselves to, The Rock and other celebrities who have millions and tens of thousands of views on every single post, we think we're not doing anything. But dude, you're making a serious dent and putting yourself in front of and top of mind to a lot of people who are in your genre.
Yeah, and I think it's never been, I wouldn't say it's never been easier, Tim, but the algorithm's never been more friendly to newer content creators. It used to be
Mm.
that you had to have a following back in the Facebook days, 2015, 2020, where you used to have a following, used to have subscribers, and they saw your videos. Well, TikTok flipped everything on its head. It used to be creator focused. Now it's content focused, and you can go viral overnight if you get a really good piece of content, and you can get tens of thousands, if not more, views on a page that you just started, a few months ago or a few weeks ago. So it's all about the content. It's all about the algorithm. It's gotten so complex where every single person has their own algorithm. That's why there's no hacking of algorithms, even with all the AI technology. It's specifically what that person engaged with is on a daily basis. It changes every day, every second, every minute. Sometimes they're on a platform, sometimes they're not. So it is tough. I get it to try to, if you compare yourself to these people that get all these views, but you can get a pretty substantial amount of views starting from scratch or having a small following these days, and that wasn't always the case.
Well, especially in the industry that we're in, man. We're in a finance focused industry where it's like
Mhm.
you don't need millions of followers, right?
No.
Even if you had 1,000 local bad at like movers and shakers who are like in your tribe and following 1,000 people, man, you could move markets with that locally and raise a lot of money, get a lot of deal flow, right? Attract good quality people to your team, and you can make a dent if you're using content, you're using social media to create content, not just consume content. It's an amazing marketing medium if you're creating, but if you're just consuming, dude, you'll might rot your brain if you're not following the right people.
It definitely will rot your brain. Yeah, just the possibilities. I would encourage anybody that has any like inkling to try it. Just try it for 30, 60, 90 days. I don't I have like a couple like funds that I've got to know. They're like, "Hey, if you push our stuff, we'll fund the deals and we'll pay a percent of origination fee." And I just started that a few months ago, and it's kind of like we're not a broker, kind of like a liaison, and I don't do any underwriting. I don't do anything except say, "Here, go here if you want some funding." And we're going to do 12 million in loans this year or this month. This month we're going to do 12 million in
Wow.
loans, and it's just from twice a week I'll put a story out saying, "Hey, if you're looking for some DSCR loans or some fix and flip loans on your properties, go here. My team will take care of you." And then it just goes to the couple different funds we're with, and they do the underwriting and the follow up. So, anyways, it's just the possibilities are I never endless. I never thought I'd have a lending company, and I don't. But it's just kind of like a front for other lending companies, and we're transparent. Nobody thinks it's my money,
Dude,
right? But
I love it.
it's
And,
crazy.
it goes to the point of building a brand. You build a brand, anything you want to launch. If you launched a book, it would be a bestseller immediately, right?
Hmm.
If you launch a coaching platform, I mean, obviously you already have that, but if you didn't already, you could launch that and be instantaneously successful. And whatever other industry you go into, because you have the number of eyeballs of people who actually know you, right? And I saw somebody saying like, "Oh, don't worry about building your brand." And I was like, "Dude, do you think you're going to make more money or less money if more people know who you are?"
Hmm.
Dude, of course you're going to make more. Of course you can make a bigger impact. Of course you can do better things if more people know who you are. So I obviously don't fully agree with that guy, even though he's a smart guy. It's not always great information, even though somebody's an expert at one thing, And so I think the having a personal brand, man, is so critical. It makes a big impact on how everything else can just be smoother and more consistent in your business life too. So Good stuff, dude. We can go down a rabbit hole of social media, and we should probably do that. I'd love to have you back on another time, but I want to be respectful of your time. And dude, I appreciate the conversation. Love that we're getting to build a more of a relationship on this side of things. And maybe you could share, where can people best connect with you? What are your social media handles? We'll tag it all in the show notes and stuff too, but I'd love for them to hear it from you.
Yeah, so whatever social media platform you're on, I've got a decent following on all the major ones. So just look up, Sam Primm or Faster Freedom or Sam Faster Freedom. It kind of depends on what was available or whatever when I started them all. But yeah, just look up pretty much Sam Primm on any of the platforms. I'm most active in the Instagram DMs. I do spend quite a bit of time every day in there interacting with people. It gives me ideas. It differentiates me. I'm able to send voice notes and videos. So you're getting me inside the DMs. I have some help, obviously, if I get overwhelmed. But if you want to DM me on Instagram, you'll be actually speaking with me. So give that a shot, and we can chat, and I can try to point you, whoever's DMing me, in whatever direction I can help them with.
Awesome, brother. Well, dude, congratulations on your success. It's awesome watching the journey, and hopefully we'll see you at the next mastermind, I think in March, April range. So
I'll be there.
Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you give Sam a follow and connect with him. He's always putting out a ton of great content and always leading with value to make an impact in people's lives and their businesses. So he's one of the good guys. Definitely go and connect with him and stay connected with him. He's got a great, brilliant business mind and perspective on things. So he's got his finger on the pulse based on how much activity that they're doing and what they're seeing in the marketplace. So connect with him, and appreciate you guys being here on the Legacy Podcast. We'll see you next Sunday.